heap abuse on him. That's what it says. They are surprised that you do not join them in their reckless, wild living, and they heap abuse on you. What else can you do? What else can you do? When a sensible guy, quote unquote, goes crazy, quote unquote, they abuse you. Sometimes, we have some archaeological evidence of these abuses that early Christians went through. In various places in Rome, the city of Rome, we have found, archaeologists have found what we call graffiti on the walls of Rome, where a human being with the head of a donkey on a cross, like what we have now. We have seen this. Maybe dates, some people debate the date, it could be anywhere between 60 AD to 130 AD. But early church, the first century Christianity. And it says, Aleximenos worships his God. The caption says. And this is meant to abuse Christians. And people, those who are against Christians in those days, drew this, at least 2-3 instances we have, on the walls of Rome, with a person with the head of a donkey, a figure with the head of a donkey, body of a human being on a cross. And it says, Aleximenos worships his God, to make fun of Christians. One solid evidence we have. Literature, there could have been many, making fun and alleging them that they are immoral people. You see, what did the people in Philippi say? When Paul went to preach there, I think it is Paul and Silas, forgive me if I am wrong. See, Paul went to preach there, and they said, no, these people preach something that we Romans cannot accept or believe. But what is the problem? A woman was healed or exorcised and she is now sober. That is the thing. But she said, accused them. Accused of being traitors, being immoral, and having a good laugh at the expense of Christians because they are surprised. And the challenge here, the subtext of this passage is that, can you challenge, can you surprise some of your classmates or workers, co-workers in the workplace? Surprised. And surprised not to get a box of chocolates, surprised so that they will abuse you. So bad things about I was in the place where we live, my family was the only believing family. There were a lot of Christian families. Believing family, the believer family in that place. And we had to walk about 10 minutes when I was a small kid to the place where we can catch a bus to that church every Sunday and the Sunday school. So we used to walk, and all of us were, even little children were had to carry a Bible, thick Bible. We didn't have Gideon's Bible in those days. We had the full Bible, 66 books, black Bible with red edges, and we children carried these to the church. And it's very beautiful memories I have. But there, one of our neighbors, I don't want to tell her name, and she used to wait for me passing by her house, and she used to say, in our language, in a very joking way, and she said, oh, and she had a funny name for the Bible, and she called it something, a breakfast, something that is burned, because it's burned, you have dosha, burned dosha, something like that she used to call, because it's black both sides. So she called my Bible a burned masala dosha or whatever it is. And she used to say, Paulson, please pray for me also. And she's not really requesting prayer, but she's just making fun of me. I grew up, I took this Bible, I became a minister of this word. That lady also grew up, and she was quite older to me, and she became the prostitute. She married, her husband divorced her, and then she became a prostitute in our village. And a miserable life. But let me tell you, I was abused for simply carrying this and passing by her house. That's all that I did. But there are people who are going to pay a greater price. They have to say, no, I will no more come to that company, that party. I will no more come to that sort of a conversation. I'm not going to talk about those sort of things. I don't want to have a joke, which borders immorality, indecent. I break with it. And they lose one from their company and they start abusing it. Surprise enough to be abused. That's what I'm going to say. Surprise the world. Surprise, shock the world. Shock your workplace. Shock your classroom. Shock everyone you come across. And be abused. Otherwise it is not a shock. Otherwise it's not a shock. It's a painful process. Very, very painful process. Even in this city I have worked with young Christians for about 6 years in a church. Every day we get new people. But sad to say that they didn't break with the sin. I have people who come and sat in my ministry, counsel, and made friends with them. They came from different religions, confessions, different persuasions, ideologies, but they failed to make a break. And the world sucked them back. The world sucked them back. Now, is this worth abuse, suffering? If it is suffering, I know many of us haven't gone through that. I myself haven't gone through it. I remember one incident in my life when I was sharing gospel with a believer. I did my BSc in a college, a Hindu college, under Hindu management, temple management. There was not a single Christian in the campus. All the professors, even the Murkha, the guard was Hindu, and high caste also, no low caste also, high caste Brahmin college. And I was the only believer Christian that time. But I was brought up in EU during my +2 studies. And I came to this college. Unfortunately, I landed there and I resisted it. But I had to, not to miss a year, I had to take this. I never wanted to be in the college. But I remember standing for the Lord in that college. All alone, 2,000 people. All alone. I remember once a friend of mine caught me by collar. And he was about to slap me. And I didn't know what to do. Because I had never slapped before. I didn't know what to do. But I stood. But later on, he became a Christian. He joined the EU group and we prayed together. Because he just didn't like me saying all sort of things. But I thank God that though I was never beaten for the Lord, never in prison for the Lord, but small steps I did as a teenager those days, God counted. God was watching me. We can take that even from seminary at Everton. Even if you are from a seminary, don't think it's, I know I'm the dean. I know what's happening at all levels. You may not see it only at the student level or maybe staff level, but I know it at all levels. It's not a place, it's not a holy ground. There may be times when you have to take a stand. In a Christian organization where you are going to work for God, against sin. That is what we do. And now let me conclude with the comfort the word of God gives. Don't worry. The chocolates are laced with poison. But one thing is that, remember, God is still in charge. God is still in charge. Sometimes we think, when we go through pain and suffering, we think like the psalmist cried. Many psalmists, not one psalmist, many psalmists cried, "Oh Lord, why have you forsaken me?"